Welcome. I am Collins Child Development faculty on the Wallace Community College Dothan campus. In this episode, we are going to be learning about working to resolve challenging attitudes and behaviors. Human nature being what it is, teachers occasionally find themselves working with families whose attitudes and behaviors are difficult to deal with. No matter how positive the teacher's attempts have been, obviously, it is easier to work with some families, particularly those whose values and life experiences are similar to the teacher's. Stress or personality may cause some parents to display responses that range from belligerence to indifference, and either extreme is quite daunting to work with. In addition, any classroom teacher can tell you that particular situations with parents arise regularly enough to become sources of chronic irritation. Such encounters may be so discouraging or threatening that teachers retreat from future efforts to work with families. But when this happens, children's well-being will suffer, so it's important that teachers develop skills and strategies to help counter the negatives. In this episode, we will consider reasons for parents' challenging behaviors and strategies for handling them. This does not suggest that there are magical solutions to these difficulties. Rather, there are teacher and school responses that may get the teacher through the immediate encounter and policies or procedures that may prevent reoccurrences. Perhaps most important is the teacher's belief that a partnership with families is important enough to keep on trying. As professionals, teachers have the responsibility to keep working towards effective relationships with parents even under difficult conditions. Perhaps the most difficult circumstances arise when teachers and families view a situation quite differently. These differences may center on pedagogical issues. These are issues related to teaching. Other predicaments for teachers sometimes arise from parents' behaviors perceived to put children at risk. Yet another predicament that often faces teachers is the need to communicate negative information to a parent about a child's behavior, development, or progress at school. Add to any of these circumstances the factor of diverse cultural interpretations of a situation or language limitations that prevent real communication, and we can appreciate the complexity for any teacher. In some cases, there may be no solution to the vast differences in perspective or emotional response of teachers and parents, and it is left only to agree that there is disagreement and respect the differences. In other instances, a careful analysis of the dynamics and facts of the situation may help the parties find common ground on which to work together, a win-win solution. So join me, Miss Trott, as we learn all about working to resolve challenging attitudes and behaviors. Hostility can be a reason for a challenge. Teachers need to realize that not everything that seems like hostility is really so. Sometimes parents are motivated by genuine concern for their children, and questioning the practices or evaluation of another is a form of healthy self-assertion. Another emotion that may be masked by hostility is the grief parents feel when realizing that their child has a developmental problem or disability. Hostility can also come across when a parent has inexperience with assertion. When teachers directly or indirectly assign blame for a problem, parents may understandably react in hostile ways. True hostility appears as an individual reacts with anger when dealing with a person seen to be in authority. A hostile person is defensive and suspicious, assumes that others have unfriendly intentions, and therefore feels impelled to strike the first blow. When parents are verbally abusive or irrationally angry, it is impossible to communicate effectively. It is the teacher's task to diffuse the anger so a communication can begin. To do this, the teacher must remain calm, acknowledge and accept the anger, adhere to facts, express concern constructively, respect families' concerns, express teacher emotions constructively, and you can reschedule the meeting. Another reason for challenge is indifference. There are several possible reasons behind apparent indifference. Whatever the reason for families' lack of interest or involvement, most teachers dislike not being able to reach them. Teachers who feel unsuccessful in reaching particular parents often withdraw from them, thereby increasing the distance between them. It is common for teachers to shift the blame from themselves to parents. These responses do not improve the situation. It is important for teachers to hold the belief that most parents want their children to succeed and do well. It is helpful to adopt an attitude that parents are reachable, but that teachers have not yet found ways to reach them. Teachers must not interpret inaccessibility personally. Teachers must assess the reasons for families' unavailability and consider various ideas to overcome it. It is vital that teachers not fall into the trap of making stereotypical judgments about the involvement or abilities of families, particularly those who are disadvantaged socioeconomically. Such stereotypes will prevent teachers from truly reaching out to involve all families. Some reasons for indifferent families are personal and economic pressures, career interests, cultural differences, and emotional pressures. There is an important consideration for teachers about parental underinvolvement. Collaboration is a key to their children's success. Parents have equal responsibilities with teachers, and effective partnership schools make this message explicit. As underinvolvement presents challenges, so does overinvolvement. To teachers struggling to get families involved in the school or even indicate an interest in their child's welfare, the predicament of overinvolvement might seem a lesser problem. But parents who are too involved in school situations may hinder their children's move towards independence or do the wrong thing at the wrong time, disrupting their children and the class. Understanding a parent's behavior is a first step to tolerating or dealing with it. A teacher must get to know a particular parent to assess the individual situation and motivation. Some reasons for over-involvement may be reluctance to separate, unmet personal needs, insecurities, or just lingering to talk. Setting up guidelines to help parents realize the many facets of a teacher's responsibilities can help aid in this challenge. In addition to troubling attitudes and behaviors, several situations frequently arise in schools, causing irritation for the staff involved. Let us consider some ways schools can deal with these situations. Among recurrent problems that annoy teachers in child care and after-school programs is the frequent late arrival of parents picking up their children. This is one situation that is probably best handled by administrators rather than by teachers themselves. It is important for late policies to be strict, clearly communicated, and consistently administered by those in charge, leaving teachers and children free of the emotional issues. A very uncomfortable and potentially dangerous situation arises when teachers are asked to release children under their care to adults they suspect to be impaired by drugs or alcohol, or to an adult who does not have legal custody of the child. The best protection against such occurrences is to have written policies that are discussed at the time of enrollment. Teachers should not be put in the position of having the responsibility to decide which parent has legal custody without such a document. If asked to release children to non-custodial parents, teachers should try to reach the custodial parent and law enforcement if necessary to protect all the children in the teacher's care as well as themselves. If a teacher feels that the adult picking up a child is not in a good condition to be driving, they can call the authorized adults or call law enforcement officials. In either case, the concern is to protect children under the teacher's care. Many teachers complain that parents fail to treat them with respect. Especially in the child care environment, some parents seem to feel that teachers are merely and deserve no particular esteem at best, or at worst, downright rudeness. It is important that teachers themselves realize the significance of the work they do with children and families. Their demeanor and attitudes best convey to others how deserving of respect they are. Succumbing to others' disrespectful behaviors would be an unfortunate loss for society and education. Demonstration of administrative support and valuing of teachers may be an important message for the community. It is vital that teachers continue to treat others with respect, no matter how rude or demanding parents are. This example may go a long way towards helping parents and children see more appropriate models of interaction. Another frequent cause of homeschool friction is parents' disregard for policies that exclude sick children. Clearly stated policies may help with this problem. Family handbooks and orientation information should state specific conditions that deemed exclusions from the classroom as well as expected parent responses when they are called to pick up sick children. Care of sick children of working parents has become a community issue. Some companies and communities have created linkages between medical facilities and personnel and the child care community to ease this problem. This is surely an advocacy issue that teachers and parents can work on together. When parents, children, and teachers come together at the end of the day, problems can be created by the transition and magnified by fatigue. Children sometimes test and evade parents, almost as if challenging them to take charge again. Parents sometimes demand information and answers from teachers, again appearing to challenge how the day has actually gone. Teachers can help this by preparing children for the transition by planning quiet activities that allow children to calm down and help children gather their belongings and get dressed, and at pickup and post summaries of children's classroom days and not discuss negative behavior reports. Such a conversation is likely to be more productive than an at-the-door confrontation between harried parents and teachers. Teachers are frequently annoyed by parents' requests for services or attention for their children that go beyond the typical classroom practices. Rather than simply being irritated and refusing the requests arbitrarily, teachers may need to remember that early childhood programs are there to provide support services for families, and families have a right to define some of the individual services they need. Teachers should consider how a requested service might be provided rather than immediately refusing. Requests that have no solution need to be explained to the families so they understand the problem their requests make for the center. When policies have been clearly communicated in a family handbook before the requests, teachers can refer to the policy as they state their decision rather than making it a personal teacher decision. A current issue that is emotionally charged for the parents and teachers involved is the issue of readiness for children moving on. The best information about readiness comes from systematic observations by trained teachers, along with information from parents, who know their children better than anyone else and should be active participants in the assessment process. Teachers can give families specific information and guidelines about what is developmentally appropriate and what is not. Many teachers find that recording their feelings, perceptions, and experiences in working with parents is a valuable tool for their personal growth, one that provides an emotional release and evidence that their efforts are effective. Teachers who make genuine efforts to understand and solve problems but still find situations that seem to have no solution should remember that they are not alone. Any teacher has had similar experiences that sometimes linger in the memory long after forgetting more positive experiences. It is important to learn as much as possible from these negative experiences and to keep on trying. Now let's review what we've learned. Teachers may encounter troublesome behaviors and attitudes that are personally annoying and professionally discouraging. In each case, a teacher's first step should be to attempt to identify the feelings or circumstances that might be the cause. A stance that is directed towards solutions rather than accusations is important. Some of these behaviors could include hostility, which may mask other emotions and require calm responses, apparent indifference, which may come from parents' socioeconomic or work conditions and is best responded to by assessing reasons for unavailability and finding other communication methods. Over-involvement, which probably comes from parents' own needs and definition of the parenting role and requires responses that acknowledge parents' needs and protect children's independence. Specific frequent causes of tension, such as sick children, parent lateness, and requests for special treatment, require thoughtful individual responses. That wraps us up for this episode. You can learn more about this topic by reviewing the resources posted in your course. As always, if you have any questions, please contact me or your instructor. Thanks for joining me, Miss Trott, as we learn all about working to resolve challenging attitudes and behaviors. See you next time.